Hi, this is Dr. Mercola in Bismarck, North Dakota with regenerative agriculture pioneer Gabe Brown in front of one of his biggest cash crops, which is grass-fed organic cattle, beef.
Well, thank you, Dr. Mercola. So what we have here is a group of mixed age. These are both yearlings and 2-year-old animals. On our operation, we raise 100% grass-fed and grass-finished beef. And so these animals are moved daily onto a fresh paddock, so they have highly nutritious forage in front of them all the time. Even though we're in a major drought here, you can see we still have plenty of grass in this paddock. And the reason for that is our paddocks only get grazed about once every 15 months in our dry environment. Now, if you were in a wetter environment, you'd want to graze it a bit more frequently. But our pastures have plenty of time to recover. Because of that, we have a healthy soil and a healthy root system to allow adequate nutrient density in those plants. So you can see by the looks of these cattle, they're really filling out, getting fat and sassy, and they're going to make some awfully good steaks and burgers.
Yeah, there's a big difference between these and the conventional grass-fed beef, which is not grown as old. They typically sacrifice them much younger, and you figured out that it's far better to raise them longer, make them mature more, and then fatten up and get that really good grass-fed fat.
That's exactly right. One of the issues we're having in the grass-fed industry today is that a lot of the animals are more or less being produced in a feedlot, just they're being fed forage, and they're calling them grass-finished. Well, these animals are, as you can see, are truly out on the landscape. We allow the extra time for them to develop that marbling, all that intermuscular fat that's needed, that healthy fat. Thus, it's high in omega-3, conjugated linoleic acid, and all of the nutrients that make grass-finished beef so healthy.
You know, another argument that people or some groups, basically, I can think of the movie Cowspiracy, and I'm sure you've got some good rebuttals to that. So I think we should address it here, because these are the cows, and I think the central core of their argument is that one cow requires 40 acres of land. It's somewhere, some crazy statistic they come up with.
That's right. That's the statistic they use. But if you really look at the hard data, you know, it is, even in our environment, which is a low rainfall environment, we can take an animal from birth to harvest on approximately 8 acres of land. Now that includes the cow that produced the calf. Mm-hmm. So we can do it for on a much fewer acres than many of those people are claiming. And then when you get into the wetter environments, it'll get down to an animal for every 2 acres. Now you have to realize the other thing is that there's many areas in this country that are not suited for crop production. For instance, this paddock that we're in, because of the large amount of rocks, the terrain, this just is not suited for crop production. The best use for this is with grazing animals. Mm-hmm. Also, what many of those people fail to understand is that livestock, especially your grazing ruminants, are just critical for taking carbon out of the atmosphere. Because once a plant is bitten, that plant then sends out, leaks root exudates into the soil to attract biology to regrow. When it does that, it's cycling more carbon. We will never, ever mitigate climate change problems without grazing animals. It's imperative we have grazing animals on the landscape.
That's just a radically crucial concept that's failed to be appreciated by the people who, adopt this cowspiracy perspective. It is not the cause of climate change. It is the reason we're not having it, because we're raising the beef improperly, not the way they were never designed to be raised in cave operations, confined animal feeding operations. They're designed to be raised out here, integrated into the landscape.
You're exactly right. And one thing I like to tell people is, we've harvested thousands of beef animals in my lifetime. I have never harvested one yet that has a gizzard. So why in the world are we feeding them grain?
Yeah.
That, you know, ruminants developed over time for this symbiosis of grazing living plants, and then in turn those living plants take in more carbon. That's what's needed. That's why I can never understand the logic behind vegetarianism, because if they're truly concerned about the environment, they would be eating more grass-finished beef and more pasture-raised animals, because that is what's going to truly heal our landscapes and mitigate climate change.
Well, there is a philosophical argument that some have, you know, against killing any living thing, but then you could extend that argument to killing plants.
Yes.
You know? So, you know, I wouldn't disparage someone's belief system. I don't think you really can objectively. If that's their belief, that's their belief. But if they're doing it for health or environmental reasons, then it really is very short-sighted.
Yep, exactly.